Hello Essentials, what are you doing next month? Because Kitty and I have 3 events planned up, and we're going to talk about the first one right now,
Yes.
which is boundaries and consent. And what I have to acknowledge is the fact that the kink community gave, not just to the sexual field, but in, people in general, society in general, the notion of consent. This is where it comes from. So that's why I'm doing this event with a kinky chief in Romania.
Yes, it's important in the kink community to discuss consent, especially because the activities that happen can cross a lot of boundaries if you're not careful. So we are constantly discussing and being preoccupied by how to obtain consent, how to make sure that you actually have it, how to stop somebody, because we know that a lot of people might not feel comfortable expressing their displeasure or verbalizing what they want, and they'd really rather go with the flow and see what works for them and then eventually try to stop it if it gets awkward or unpleasant. And we are constantly trying to work and find new ways to bring people closer to intimacy and to trust, by respecting each other's boundaries, by taking into consideration aspects of verbal and non-verbal consent. And this has been a very important journey to me as a person, to me as a kinkster, to me as a sexual being, and I'm very happy to be able to share out of my information and my knowledge all of these things with you.
My experience as a sexological body worker was that first and foremost we would get into the notion of consent and boundaries. And this is not just as a practitioner and you have clients who come to you and they need to understand this, and you also need to understand where the boundaries lie, but then also as a coach who's helping people get empowered and find ways for their own lives after they leave your sessions to, honor their boundaries, know their boundaries, communicate their boundaries, say no to people who don't get it, or people who just don't respect it, or people who are from a different perspective.
Yes.
So this is... And we involve a lot of play, and play in a constructive way, as in we play within the boundaries. And it's always the challenge is, okay, well, what are your boundaries? And like when you ask people, it's like,
what do you want?
At the beginning,
And where should you stop? Yes.
Until where you're comfortable and when don't you? I mean, where are you not comfortable all of a sudden? That's the most delicate thing ever. Like boundaries, it's the most challenging thing, even for people who are advanced. Or
I think the matter of finding your boundaries is a journey of exploration. Unfortunately, we often find our boundaries when we've kind of stepped across them.
Or somebody else.
Or somebody else has stepped across them. So when you're starting on your journey of exploration, I think it's okay to be open to mistakes, but not to be open to people willfully crossing your limits. That's not okay. But kind of being open to the possibility that people make mistakes. You can make mistakes in evaluating what you're willing to do and what you're open to. But we will have a lot of fun exercises because in the kink community, we try to always acknowledge the possibility for mistake rather than consent violation or abuse. So in making that distinction, I have a few fun games ready for you that you can give them a try and kind of discover how it is to say no, how it is for your boundaries not to be respected, what that feels like, and what you should do when you are confronted with such a situation, but also exploring your emotions when those boundaries might be crossed, because that's very difficult to do, and it's much easier to do it in a safe environment during an exercise where you are confronted with these feelings rather than later on at home when you're not ready. Yes, I think.
We're in a public space, so yeah, please. I think
We're also going to have a drone filming of this presentation.
No, we're not going to have that. Okay. Somebody didn't get our consent for that.
Yes,
it's okay.
We totally broke our consent over filming us.
Okay. So for us, for instance, the challenge is how do you communicate your boundaries and how do you explain them in such a way that the other person gets it, and how do you give consent in such a way that like inform other people and also make sure that you are informed. So this is like the most delicate thing for us is communication about boundaries, communication about consent, and then the practice. And what happens, you gave consent and you knew everything, and all of a sudden something new came up.
And you're not that okay with it. I think
Yeah.
I
think that's, yeah. Like the element of surprise comes along, and
Yes.
what do you do in that
yes, when the
situation? How do you
element of
communicate?
surprise
Yes.
comes along.
And it's the same thing in sexuality. So this is where where I'm going to bring to the table or to the setting
Yes.
of our event.
And I will bring discussion on verbal and nonverbal communication regarding consent, establishing boundaries, communicating with your partner, making sure that you are heard, that you're making yourself heard, and also how to put aside a bit of that negotiation for the possibility of exploring in dangerous territories, which can be very delicate, very problematic. A lot of people don't know how to really approach that, how to say, well, you know, I'd like to try this, but I've never tried it before, so I don't know if it's going to be okay or not.
Yeah. And if you're thinking that, oh my God, this sounds like a lot, well, guess what? There are many people out there who are going to come with the same probably question or worry or reluctance in a way, but the idea is that the people who come are actually people who want to learn, who want to understand, and who want to expand. And if you want to take my opinion on this, this is the foundation of any kind of work that you do in sexuality, from any field, tantra, sexological bodywork, kink, whatever else there is out there. Boundaries and consent is the foundation. So I would encourage you to come, and just come, as in physically. Present yourself there.
And enjoy our exercises.
Definitely.
They're going to be fun, and some of them challenging, but mostly fun, I think.
Yeah. And we are promising you that you'll get home in a very feng shui way, so
Yes,
you'll get home
yes.
back safely, okay, relaxed, at peace. It's just an event where you're going to learn.
Yes.
So Kitty, thank you. And
Thank you very
I'm
much.
looking forward to meeting you again on the
Yeah.
floor over there. And we have also 2 other events coming up, so make sure to follow us and check out our work. And you know, if you resonate with it, sign up and we'll meet you there.
Yay!
Bye.
Bye!